Hello everyone. In this video series, I'll be going over how to access the ETABS and SAP2000 API using Python. I thought I'd make this video series because I get asked a lot about how to use the API in general and just a lot of the best practices. If you have any suggestions on other content you'd like me to cover, please leave it in the comments below. So to start off with, what we're going to do is download Python. So for that, you'll come to python.org, and here you go to downloads and download Python 3.83 or whatever the latest version of Python. And I recommend downloading Python 3 rather than 2 because 3 is the most up-to-date and 2 is really only for legacy systems or legacy programs that you have. So go ahead and click that and that'll download Python. I'm not going to do it here because I already have Python installed. And then the second part that you'll need is a developer, basically environment, integrated developer environment to write the code in. I like to use PyCharm. You can use whatever developer environment that you want. If you're not familiar with what this is basically where you'll write the code itself, and that'll execute Python. You can use other ones like Visual Studio, but this is just my favorite one. And later on, when we get into more advanced things like debugging and testing and all that kind of stuff, I'll be using PyCharm to do all those kinds of things. So I just recommend it if you don't have a strong preference. Lastly, you'll need the CSi API documentation. This is where you'll find all the different commands and how to connect to ETABS and do the various functions. And I'll have some examples here. You can find this by going to your installation location of your ETABS. So for me, it's in my C drive, program files, computers and structures, ETABS 18, and here there's a version 1 and a version 17. A version 1 is the latest. It's got a lot more features, and so I recommend using this one. 17 is last year's. And if you don't have access to this or can't find this, I will provide a link in the description where you can download it. So to get started, we're going to boot up PyCharm. I have the Community Edition, which is free. And so here we're going to click a new project. You can name it whatever you like. I'll go ahead and call this one ETABS Tutorial. For project interpreter, you're going to select essentially the existing interpreter, and it should be something like Python 3.7 or Python 3.8. We're not going to use a virtual environment. You might have to select a new environment if you haven't already have it set up. And so now you'll see an empty screen with basically no files. So right click here, go to new Python file. We'll call this tutorial 1. So for now, we're going to go ahead and just copy and paste the example code that's found in the CSi documentation under Python. So I'm going to grab all of this. And if you can't understand what any of this is saying, that's okay, because we'll get into all the little details after. But for now, we just want to get up and running. We'll go ahead and copy and paste that in here. So if you look at the top, you can see that there's different import statements here. And one of the important ones is this one here, which is com types. And this is essentially the library that allows Python to communicate with ETABS using the .NET framework. How it all works behind the scenes is not important, but what you'll need is you'll need to install this. Right now, you'll likely have this underlined red. And so how you go about installing this library is come over to your Windows, type in CMD, And you're going to use this command here, which is python -m pip install com types. So essentially what this means is for Python, you're going to install a library called com types, and pip is basically a package manager or like a file manager that makes installing and downloading libraries for Python really easily. And you'll be using this all the time to install various different libraries that we'll be getting into again in later videos. But go ahead and type this in and hit enter. For me, it says that the requirements are already satisfied, but for you, it'll go ahead and do a download. And ideally then, this will not be underlined red, and you'll be ready to go and you won't get an error. And basically what this example is going to do is it's going to boot up ETABS. It's going to create a bunch of different load cases. Again, the details don't matter. It's going to create some frames, and then it's going to run it and export some displacements. And it's actually going to close the program and shut it down. So we're going to go ahead and click on Run, Tutorial 1. So you can see ETABS has started up. It's created a bunch of members. It ran an analysis, and then it's going to save and close this, like I said. And again, what's doing is not important. We're going to get into all the details. And so you can see it output a bunch of displacements. So hopefully you were able to get this far. And what that means is you're able to now write Python code that can communicate with ETABS, and you can make your custom plugins.